Alright, hello citizens of the Nigelverse. It's Nigel once again, and this is going to be another wrestling review. If you remember a couple weeks ago, I reviewed Eddie Guerrero versus Kurt Angle, as Eddie Guerrero retained the WWE Championship at WrestleMania 20. Now, I said I was going to do a part 2, a pseudo part 2 in a way, and I'll explain why. I mean, I kind of briefly explained why in that video, but here's that pseudo part 2, because now, later on in the main event of WrestleMania 20, it's the World Heavyweight Championship turn to be defended. And unlike Kurt Angle, Kurt Angle should probably consider himself lucky because Triple H has not only one challenger, but two. One is the Royal Rumble winner, who is getting his championship match at WrestleMania. The other is a best friend he stabbed in the back about 2 years ago, and has been gunning for him ever since. So how will the Cerebral Assassin overcome these odds? Well, he won't. But we're going to review it anyway. I'm, of course, talking about WrestleMania 20 as Triple H defends the World Heavyweight Championship against Chris Benoit and Shawn Michaels. Now, as always, I am not professional wrestling reviewer, analyst, or anything like that. Just a man who enjoys a good time. And first of all, I just thought mentally about the analogy I made with Triple H versus the WWE Championship match, and I should have said Eddie Guerrero because Eddie Guerrero was the champion going in. But you guys know what I meant. But anyway, I had a really great time with this match. This match was a lot of fun as well, just like the WWE Championship match. So without further ado, let's get right into it. Now, if you've seen these reviews of mine before, you kind of know how this works. You kind of already know how this works. My goodness. But if you haven't, I'm going to be talking about what I liked and disliked about the match. And some things I did want to kind of mention. First, just one thing I had jotted down. I'm jotting stuff down now, which is helped out a lot. But one thing that I wanted to point out was, man, Triple H rocks some nice white boots. It's having the boots in kind of the inverted colors, because normally it's the black with the white design. Usually the cross or the skull and stuff like that. But this time he has the white boots with the black design, so inverting the colors. Admittedly, it's kind of something I wanted to see him more often. I'm glad he busted it out for WrestleMania. WrestleMania normally is known for its very special gears, of course. But Triple H busting out the rare white boots. Good on you, Hunter. But now that that's out of the way, now the coups are out of the way, getting into what I liked, this match was a lot of fun. First of all, I liked that all three guys got time to shine. One thing you kind of see in a lot of triple threat matches or like multi-man matches is it feels like a lot of it is one-on-one, and then someone else would jump in. This one, no. Normally, when one person was out, then the other two would be in there, and oftentimes there would be all three guys doing spots, working each other, and making it look good, and are really going to town on each other. And all three guys were involved equally in the match for the most part. Like Benoit got his offense in, Triple H got his offense in, and Shawn Michaels got his offense in as well, and it looked really solid. And even some triple threat spots with each other where they're all interacting, and even from like the jump where Benoit and Shawn Michaels kind of fighting over who was punching Triple H in the corner, that's how you know in kayfabe. That's how you know you're hated, when you got guys fighting over who gets to fight you. But then there was Triple H launching Shawn Michaels into Chris Benoit, who was in like the Tree of Woe spot. That was pretty cool as well. So seeing kind of the crisscross and interaction between all three was pretty cool to see, and to see it persist throughout the match was very fun to watch, including in a spot where all three of them are on the table, and then Triple H and Shawn Michaels both suplex Benoit through the other table. That was a pretty cool moment. So to see them all involved, all up until the very end when Shawn is taken out, and it's just down to Triple H and Benoit, I think was really cool to see. The other thing that I like is it kind of ties in with the previous point, the fact that that all three had kind of their stories involved. Well, obviously, Shawn Michaels and Triple H got a lot of interaction, and of course, to continue their rivalry that they had up to this point. But then Benoit being able to go after Triple H and Shawn Michaels as well. So, kind of the intercrossing and kind of the cross point, means or crossroads, if you will. Shout out to Cody. Between all three stories and all three men, and you're probably wondering, Nigel, Chris Benoit won the Rumble. How did Shawn get here? Well, I'm glad you asked. So Shawn Michaels pretty much did what Rhea Ripley did this past Monday on Raw, where he signed his name on the contract instead of Benoit. So they just said, "Oh, screw it, let's just make it a triple threat." Crazy to think that 21 years later that is still happening, and it's happened before and since. So not too surprising there, but yeah. So Shawn Michaels signing his name on the dotted line to make this match official, and so the stories being told throughout and how things are unfolding in this match is really awesome to see, including how Chris Benoit won, and how Chris Benoit won was Triple H tapping out. So when Chris Benoit locked in the sharpshooter, he actually locked in two submissions on Triple H. The first one being the sharpshooter. So he locked in the sharpshooter. The crowd was definitely hyped for it. They wanted to see Triple H tap out, but then Shawn Michaels broke that up with a very beautiful sweet chin music. But then Chris Benoit got the crippler crossface locked in, and when he did that, the crowd was even more unglued. They wanted to see Triple H tap out. They were kind of upset when Triple H almost made it to the rope, and then Chris Benoit rolled over or close to the center of the ring, and then finally Triple H taps. And a lot of people say, and I'm inclined to agree, probably one of the most cathartic tap outs in history. Like a very cathartic tap out was Triple H finally tapping out to Chris Benoit. Chris Benoit finally won the big one, at least in WWE. He did win it in WCW, but finally winning the big one and actually having it mean something, because previously Chris Benoit winning the World Heavyweight Championship in WCW was used more as a bargaining tool. So the story goes, Chris Benoit was on his way out. He and the rest of the Radicals, that being Eddie Guerrero, Dean Malenko, and Perry Saturn, were all on their way out of WCW, and so they tried to get them to stay. And one of the things they tried to use to get them to stay was putting the World Heavyweight Championship on Chris Benoit. And so Chris Benoit won the World Heavyweight Championship at, I believe, Sold Out, if I'm not mistaken. But Chris Benoit won the World Heavyweight Championship, but it was kind of meaningless in a way, just like the World Heavyweight Championship was at large in 2000. So no surprise there, but pretty much used as a way to kind of get him to stay. Make sure I have the pay-per-view right. So let me see. So it Sold Out 2000, and Benoit unfortunately didn't stay. Dropped the World Heavyweight Championship, and then obviously when WWE bought WCW, of course, then World Heavyweight Championship brought over, and so Chris Benoit winning here really felt like more of a feel-good cathartic moment of Chris Benoit finally, officially, he for real this time, winning the big one on overcoming the obstacles. Was someone who was ultimately, in a lot of people's eyes, held down in WCW, mainly because of his size and mainly because they were focused on other talents, for better or for worse. And so Chris Benoit finally winning big here was such an awesome moment, and having Triple H tap out added so much more oomph and catharsis to that. And then it's made even better by the fact that Eddie Guerrero came out and them hugging and celebrating, holding up the championships. Eddie Guerrero was WWE champion. Chris Benoit was World Heavyweight champion. Both were celebrating. The confetti was pouring down. It's such a feel-good moment that they can't acknowledge anymore. Like, for a while, that was like the definitive WrestleMania picture was Chris Benoit and Eddie Guerrero celebrating two friends who are champions. And it'd be crazy to think that in just a few years, in 3 years' time, in 1 year's time, plus some change, in about a year or so, we would lose one of them, and by 3 years, we would lose both of them. And of course, it's a moment they equally can't acknowledge because of what Chris Benoit did ultimately with the double murder suicide. So because Chris Benoit essentially can't be mentioned, and so because of that, it's a moment they can't glorify. Like it's such a and really, I guess that goes for a lot of Chris Benoit moments. It's most, not all, Chris Benoit moments. It's just about all Chris Benoit moments. And even though they were great at the time, I'm now knowing what we know. It's a moment that they can't glorify and can't have, which absolutely is heartbreaking because it's such a feel-good moment. And ruined pretty much by Benoit and his actions so it's very bittersweet in that regard. Or like if you watch that moment in a bubble, it is such a touching, warm, just awesome moment. But knowing what we know now ruins the moment essentially, and pretty much ruins and pretty much in a way kind of ruins the main event as well. At least in terms of WWE acknowledging it. In terms of the match quality and everything, it can't really take away from that, but it's a match they can't acknowledge. It's a moment they can't acknowledge. Such a feel-good moment, almost in a way goes to waste because of Chris Benoit and his actions. And it's so sad that it's heartbreaking to really think about, and obviously not excusing Chris Benoit's actions. In fact, quite the opposite, of course. But yeah, it's something they can't really talk about, even though in a perfect world where Chris Benoit didn't do what he did, it maybe even still alive or what have you, who Eddie's still alive or what have you, it'd be a moment that they could talk about, in a moment they could celebrate. But unfortunately, knowing what we know, they can't, and it's sad. It's really heartbreaking. Sorry, didn't mean to bum you guys out, but it's the truth. It's the absolute truth of the matter, and it's something that it's been in almost 2 decades, and I feel like we as fans have kind of come to terms with the fact that WWE can't really acknowledge this moment anymore, knowing what we know about Chris Benoit, knowing what we know about his actions and everything. But it's a real disappointment, and it's a real shame. In terms of what I didn't quite like about the match, now, hear me out. I'm gonna sound crazy. I'm sure a lot of you are gonna disagree with me, and that is totally fine. Triple H and Shawn Michaels Crimson Masks. I've said it. It's out there. I can't take it back. Heck, yes. As normally, Crimson Mask is a cool thing because, it's Nigel. What, you don't want them bleeding? Like, the blood is such a cool visual. It's such a crazy visual. Triple H wore the white boots. You know you can't go into a match wearing white and expect not to get blood. Yeah, but it looks really gross. Thankfully, I'll give them this. It's not as gross as, say, Eddie Guerrero at Judgment Day 2004, but it is pretty close. And is pretty gross looking, pretty disgusting. Like, Shawn gets busted open first after going on the turnbuckle. Now, maybe it's just me. I didn't see Shawn blade, so maybe he did hit his head on the turnbuckle and got busted open that way. But also didn't see him hit the hard part of the turnbuckle, or didn't hear the smack or anything. And then Triple H hit the turnbuckle on the outside, and then he's busted open. And I would say Shawn's is a lot more gross than Triple H because his blood was getting all on Chris Benoit and everything, and all on Triple H. It was really, really disgusting. And yes, I know the color adds to the match. And Crimson Masks are something that's common in wrestling. We even see some today. They're not as often in WWE, but we still see plenty today. Across WWE, AEW, other companies, stuff like that. But here it was really gruesome and really, really gross. I'm not sure if Shawn Michaels punctured an artery, because I know that was the reason Eddie Guerrero bled a lot at Judgment Day. He punctured an artery. But it was pretty nasty. But maybe that's just a small nitpick on my part. Didn't take away from the match itself. Oh, the match is still really fantastic, and I do still recommend checking it out. Yeah, really nasty with the Crimson Mask there. But yeah, so that is going to do it for this review. Thank you all so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed. I know kind of had a bit of a somber note there a little bit towards like the middle / the end, but it's kind of just the reality of things, and it's really unfortunate that this moment, which should be a feel-good moment, is a bittersweet moment in hindsight. Like, if you still want to look at it in a bubble and still want to enjoy the moment, I'm not saying you can't. In fact, I recommend checking out this match if you're curious. But yeah, there's a reason why this moment, when they talk about all of the classic WrestleMania moments, there's a reason that they don't talk about this moment when they do like the WrestleMania highlights of the biggest WrestleMania moments, and that's because, to put it simply, they can't. And it's very obvious why they can't, but they can't. But in the meantime, thank you all so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed. If you did, please do me a favor. Like, comment, subscribe, share with your friends, and turn on those post notifications so you know every time I upload a video so you never miss an upload. And let me know in the comments below your thoughts on the match and my review of the match. Did you like to like the match? Do you like to like my review of the match? Let me know. Thank you all so much for watching. I'll see you guys later. Peace.